this is your Ramona Locator narrator, and the purpose of this video is to introduce the series I will be doing on Ramona. This I call my war room, where I plan out in advance wherever I intend to travel or hike to. I have my magazines in here, I have my books, I have some maps, I have access to the internet if I need it. It all starts here. You'll notice on this desk down here, I have a bunch of Ramona collectibles I've picked up this year. I want to give you a little bit of background about how I go about doing things. Over the past 5 years, I've actively shared a lot of my hikes and location hunts online. Most of these have taken place in the High Sierra because I like being up high in the backcountry. I also have looked for where old movies have been filmed, which usually ends up being westerns because they're usually the ones that get filmed the most outdoors. When I can, I like to visit old historic spots as well as areas that have something related to science or art. You name it, I like to integrate and make the connections between things. That is what I've been doing on my previous YouTube channels, and I still do that on the Overwhelming Silence channel. However, about a year ago I started to feel like I was in a rut. Although I was enjoying what I was doing, I felt I was just doing a lot of the same things over and over. What I knew I needed was something new, and it turned out Ramona was just what I was looking for. Let me explain. I'm not sure what turned me on to Ramona. I had actually considered Ramona in the past, but was not as interested in doing it at the time. When I was a kid, I wanted to go see the play that runs in Hemet, but never did. In fact, I had actually been to one of the places we will be heading to about 10 years ago, but at the time I remember, I was really not concerned about the Ramona story. I was really more into the history of the place I was at. Even a few years ago, I remember holding up DeLizer's Ramona memory book in a bookstore. And it seemed like the type of thing I would be into, because she gives the location, she talks about the history to them, but even then I wasn't really that interested in doing it. Which brings me to the actual history of the story. Ramona was written by Helen Hunt Jackson in between 1883 and 1884. Ms. Jackson had already done a factual book called A Century of Dishonor that highlighted the injustices done to the Native Americans or American Indians. She felt her book never did the proper job of convincing the government of the injustices, so she turned to writing a historical fiction novel that she hoped would persuade the general public instead. This is where we get to the point of these videos I will be doing. Ms. Jackson came to Southern California and visited some of the sites we will be visiting. In Ramona, she uses many of these areas in describing her story. I will be showing some of these areas in the videos this year. What happened though is her book became popular not because of the story of the injustices done to the American Indians. It became popular because of the American interest in the nostalgia of old California. In the real history of California, Spain owned the land from 1769 to 1821. Then Mexico had it from 1821 to 1848. Then finally it became part of the United States and was made a state shortly after. The Spanish and Mexican heritage and culture was what the public really had an interest in a nostalgic way. It was kind of like this. It was very sad what happened, but that was a time long ago that we have nothing to do with in this modern era. But let's enjoy the culture and heritage of what was once in old California. That was kind of the attitude people had back then. Because of this, what Ramona did do was cause a boom to the tourist industry. People wanted to visit California to see the sites Ms. Jackson had described in her book. So people flocked to California visiting the sites and picking up whatever Ramona trinkets they could purchase along the way. What's interesting is that some sites became Ramona sites not because Helen Hunt Jackson had them in mind for her book. It was a case of some person trying to create business at a site where Ramona once was, yet it had nothing to do with the book. It was just someone that actually created a site. Oh, Ramona was here, and that's how they, that was a money-making scheme for them. But this leads to the question, did Ramona and the other characters of the novel actually exist? The answer to that is no. However, there are a few characters where someone might say, yeah, but what about this person or that person? It does appear that some people are the basis of some of the characters, and in some cases it might be Helen Jackson created a composite person made up of more than one living person that influenced her character. You'll see some of this along the way. So what really got me into this story that I found very fascinating is many people really believe that Ramona was real, and these places you will see, they actually thought Ramona lived there and visited them. There is a real history to these places, but the false history took on a life of its own because of the book. It creates an odd situation where you might actually think Ramona was at these places. The paradox of the real and the fiction will constantly be showing up in this series that I do. The popularity of the book with its geographical setting also created the Ramona play, which runs each year in Hemet, at the end of April and the beginning of May. It is the longest running play in the US, going back to 1923, with 2 years taking off during the Depression era and World War II. It's actually the official state play of California. Many professional actors and actresses like Raquel Welch got their careers started by acting in this play. So along the way you'll be seeing short clips of the play along with some of the sites I want to show. It should take me about a year to do, approximately maybe 40 videos. If you're ever in the mood, one thing I would suggest you do is to make the most out of this is to purchase the book, check it out from the library, or just download it free online and read it as I go along, because I will be doing this in chronological order. If you want to comment and converse with others on my blog, which I'll have corresponding links in the video to each one of them, that's fine with me, but please try to avoid spoiling what happens as we go along. I know, the book is over 125 years old, how can you spoil it? But there are people that are reading this for the first time, that might be reading it for the first time, or seeing the story in the play for the first time. And so keep that in mind. Finally, what I do show you no way replaces the experience of actually being at the play or the sites themselves. Nothing I have on video really can capture that experience. I really would encourage you to visit these places I show, or go to the play if you are ever in Southern California. That is part of the reason I'm doing this, to help support the people that are still keeping the Ramona myth alive and keeping the historical places alive. I hope a new generation of people can experience and appreciate the story. So let me end with this thought. Ramona may be the most famous woman in California history, yet she never existed. Okay, in my next video, I will show you where she was born.